The reason NDOW in the 60s went with a lot of exotic introductions was that there were a lot of habitats that basically were devoid of native wildlife. The bighorn sheep and the rubies had been extirpated in the 1940s, and so there was a high elevational component of a big game species that was kind of missing from the high rubies. And so they looked all over. Back in the day, they even went overseas to Asia to get some species to bring in, you know, like the Himalayan snowcock and such. But they thought goats would be a good match for the rubies since there weren't sheep there, and that's why they brought them in. Goats were introduced in the Ruby Mountains in the 60s with goats that came out of Washington State. And they were doing so well in the rubies that in 1981, we decided that the East Humboldts could actively be the home for mountain goats as well. The great thing about working with the animals was being able to survey. And by far and away, the best survey results we got was in the summer. So flying in the helicopter with the doors off in the high rubies in the middle of summer was awesome. Probably one of the highlights of my career.
So coming off the 2009-2010 die-off in the East Humboldts, the department really doubled down on trying to further our understanding of disease transmission, disease risk, and understanding better the pathogens involved. So the department initiated a very field-intensive effort in about 2012 and 2013, sending large field crews onto the mountain to observe and research the mountain goats. And so we had a tremendous data collection at that time and really learned a lot about goats in the East Humboldts. From that 2009-2010 die-off, we recognized that the Ruby Mountains had pathogens that the East Humboldts didn't have, and that the East Humboldts had pathogens that were shared with the Ruby Mountains.
Well, we are capturing 15 mountain goats from the Tusher Mountains, thanks to Utah Division of Wildlife Resources for sharing their goats, and we're going to transport those back to Nevada to augment the East Humboldt range that has been struggling the last decade from a pneumonia event that actually occurred back in 2010. The population is fairly healthy, but we want to try to give it a shot in the arm with a few more nannies to help get it over the 100 mark. So really appreciative of our cooperation with UDWR.
What happened for Nevada, the reason that we're getting these goats is there was a disease die-off, Mycoplasma ovinemoniae, and it was a sympatric disease that also affected these mountain goats. So it really annihilated the bighorn sheep, but it also did the mountain goats as well, and there was multiple years of just super low kid recruitment. In 2018, NDOW began a really comprehensive disease monitoring effort in the East Humboldt range for both mountain goats and bighorn sheep. From 2018 to 2023, there was 21 mountain goats that were sampled and 15 Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep that were sampled. Of those individuals that were sampled, none of them came back positive for the deadly pathogens. It was in about 2021 where we really started to see high kid recruitment, which is a strong indicator that that pathogen was removed from the population. The summer monitoring was crucial to having this augmentation happen because we really needed to identify if those pathogens were out of the population and kids were recruited into the population. To do this, we went out in June when kids hit the ground and identified how many were running around, and then we came back in August to identify how many of those have made it through the post-weaning time frame. Once those kids are weaned from their mom, they're the most susceptible to the pathogen, and that is because they don't have the antibodies from their mom to fight this disease. So since 2021, all of the summer monitoring that we've seen really good recruitment, which is a great indicator that, again, the pathogen was gone. We would then follow up from what we saw in the summer to January, our annual aerial surveys, and we would just identify the kid ratio again there to make sure that they're making it through August and into January too.
It's pretty cool to be hands-on with those animals and to see and just touch them with your own hands. It's not something you get to do every day, or some people don't even get to do it in their lifetime. We also got to be part of the release, and our families and kids were welcome as volunteers to come, and I brought my 2 kids with me. There were tons of kids there. They were pulled from school, and the kids were so excited. They thought that was so cool.
This is an event that really doesn't happen very often. It's really special that we've had this coordination with Utah. We've helped each other out in the past and hopefully continue to do that in the future. But it's really unique, super special. A lot of folks don't get to put their hands on mountain goats, so it's pretty awesome.